It was the album that tried to be absolutely everything at once. A splash of electronica, a touch of dance, a sprinkle of glam rock, a nod to R&B, the obligatory ballad, followed by just a hint of the club scene thanks to nudity and mystical mantra, courtesy of No More Rain. X. It was titled by the fans, and in the early days it promised to give us an insight into one of Kylie's most personal periods, her battle with breast cancer. But that confessional album was never delivered. Instead, Kylie and her team, they put out an epic cattle call to all songwriters, musicians of all nationalities, all styles, all ages. And then, armed with hundreds of tunes, they began the process of creating a demo track feast, one that the fans would hunt out for many, many, many years to come. And yes, after some delightful little crumbs along the way, we finally, in 2017, I think it was, got practically the entire treasure trove of musical offcuts. Never quite sure how Kylie feels about that. Damien, Solomon and Michael are with me to discuss the 2007 album, X. Welcome, my golden friends.
Hello.
Hello, my fabulous Kylie fans.
We're all very excited on the cusp of golden, and here we are reviewing X. Damien, so many Kylie comeback albums, but this one is so different. I'm returning this time from illness.
Yeah, this one was the apparent make or break album. It was released in 2007, towards the end of the year, I think in November. It was just every songwriter in London apparently had a track on the album or was writing on the album. The brief was for songwriting was quite broad, so they basically took tracks from pretty much anyone and everyone. It was successful here. It did over 1 million copies. Some love it and some hate it.
Solomon, was X trying to be just too many things?
I'm not really sure. I'm kind of mixed on that, but it was certainly a mash of many different genres, and I think it is a great body of work, and to be released after such a personal battle, it was just what she needed, and I'm glad there were so many happy tracks on there, and she didn't focus on all the negatives, and and it would have been so hard to do that after being through so much. Yeah.
And hats off to Kylie. I mean, she obviously made that decision. She didn't want to dwell on the darkness, or she wasn't ready to, I think is probably what it was. But
yeah,
I think I think it's fair to say a lot of fans were waiting for that personal, confessional type of album.
Well, X has a special place in my heart, obviously, during the whole cancer, with Kylie recovering and me being at the showgirl where I was going to go and see the concert. And then it was, back, the bombshell was dropped that Kylie had cancer, and that kind of, I was very hurt as a fan. I cried, I really did. And so X to me, what it was is it's not cohesive, but it's an amazing album full of cool electronic hits. Even though Kylie didn't talk about her cancer personally, I don't think I was ready for that personally. You know what I mean? I don't think Kylie was ever going to tell you too much anyway. As we know, Kylie just keeps a lot to herself. It's very personal. But I was in the UK as well at the time, so I was actually very blessed to actually meet Kylie, and be one of 200 from 400,000.
The Kylie Show.
Yeah, the Kylie Show, yeah!
Now, I've just got to say, Michael, because you're too modest to say this, anyone who wants to go and see this man himself dancing alongside Kylie, go to the Kylie Show, look up Got to Be Certain, and probably one of the other tracks.
And Cosmic.
Sorry, Cosmic. There he is. I always pause it when you're on there, Michael. I pause it every time.
It's a special, and the song The One as well, all that kind of, I just love the whole album as a whole. It was not cancer related, which was fine. But I think it had some amazing songs on there.
I get very frustrated by X because I think it could have been. I still think it's a solid album. It's fantastic. I love listening to it. Brings back a lot of memories for me too, Michael. Around the same vein that I knew I liked Kylie, but I didn't know how personally connected to her I was until I walked past for TV and she was on the headline. I was like, hang on, what is this? Turn up the volume. My God, it knocked me for six, and I was surprised by my reaction. I didn't know I was so personally connected. But this album, speaking of it as a body of work, I feel like it really could have been something if they'd stayed on that track of electronica. Because think of Ruffle My Feathers, Lose Control,
Yes.
Speakerphone, Like a Drug, The One. They had enough tracks to keep this album electronica-tastic if they wanted to.
Totally.
Yeah.
100%. I think if you listen to all of the off cuts and even the B-sides that were actually officially released, just there's so many tracks that they could have played with. Do It Again, which is brilliant. Sexual Gold should have been on the record. Ruffle My Feathers should have been on the record. There's so many of the and I understand what you mean. You kind of feel that it could have been a much grittier and more satisfying record with some of those offcuts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I almost believe that there was two albums here. You know, I remember
Yeah.
Kiss Me Once. She got Sia in to be the executive producer, and I remember the recollection that Kylie has is that there were so many tracks they needed someone to come in and make sense of it. And Sia said, okay, you've got a group of this, you've got a group of that. That should have happened with X. They had 3 discfuls, 49 tracks at a minimum, and probably a lot more, where they should have grouped them and went, okay, let's release the electronica album from heaven, which they could have done. They truly could have. So much of the public have missed out on great tracks here. We know them, but the bulk of people don't. And then made the album that possibly was a little bit more personal. Things like she fought very hard to get No More Rain on the album, for example. I understand why they wanted to keep it off. Not because it's a bad
But
track. It doesn't fit.
She also fought fought very hard to put Speakerphone on the album, which they actually rejected.
Is that right?
When she had delivered Speakerphone with Bloodshine Avant, I think produced it, and they actually rejected it the first time round, and there was a discussion that should have been a single. Well, there was no great secret that she loved the track and wanted it on the album, and Parlophone didn't actually like it.
Isn't it a time when she worked with Dead Mouse? You know, the DJ?
Yeah, she did one track with Dead Mouse, which was Change Your Mind,
Yeah, it was-
but
I love
that also didn't make the record as well. And unlike her dealings with Milo, when she did the 2 tracks with Milo, her dealings with Danger Mouse was pretty good, and he actually took the track and turned it into Happiness for Alexis Jordan.
Yeah, I heard the similarities now. Thank you for that. I didn't know.
Yeah.
And this is really interesting too. It has to be noted that during the creation of X, with this cattle call they put out to all musicians, they pissed a lot of people off. I mean, we're talking about Milo, we're talking about the Pets...
Pet Shop Boys.
Pet Shop Boys.
Pet Shop Boys.
And we're also talking about Boy George, and they're just the high-profile ones. And have a little listen to this. This is what Scottish musician Milo said, because he thought fully that I'm in the Mood for Love and Spell of Desire, they were going to be on the album. Ego, maybe, who knows. He said, to be honest, I think this album is a complete mess, except for the track she blatantly stole from Kishmove, Two Hearts. I plan to keep up my public beef with Kylie for as long as possible. How good is that? I mean, she really... And I think there was a theme, too, just as an aside, not that I care too much, that they weren't getting back to these songwriters and saying, yay, we're going to use them, or no, we're not going to use them. They were all confused. The Pet Shop Boys, of all people, they weren't sure until the album came out if their tracks were going to be used.
I think they just used so many people to write for the album. It was kind of like, Hot Chips, big single from a couple of years. I can't remember what it's called now, but that was written for her, and nobody got back to them, so they decided to release them themselves, and it became a number 1. It was just one of those things that every writer in London was going to be on the new Kylie album, which was her Resurrection album, which was going to make them famous. It was commonly known, and they got great tracks, but yeah, you're right. I think they pissed off a lot of people.
Well, listen to this.
Until
we never heard anything back, explained Neil Tennant of the Pet Shop Boys. I think every songwriter in London wrote songs for Kylie's last album. When we were on tour, we had 2 male backing singers, and both had submitted songs for Kylie's album as well. They never heard anything either. And Chris Lowe, the other half of the duo, he went on to say, we won't be doing it again. Really pissed off. High-profile people. Amazing. And Friends, I thought Friends with Kylie. And Boy George he publicly slams everyone, let's face it. But at that time, he publicly slammed Kylie for not using Survivor, I think it was called, wasn't it? Or I'm
Yeah,
Ready?
the track wasn't.
I'm
the
ready,
track-
but I don't think that song was great. I don't think it was any fantastic.
No.
I didn't- Yeah, that's why it was left off.
Yes, that's right. But they could have told him, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Can we talk about the lead single? I mean, Two Hearts. I've got a lot to say, but I'm going to let you go first.
Like the song, knew the original from Kishmael, as I knew a couple of other bits and pieces of theirs. They're very underground. They're very cool. Wrong choice of a first single.
Yep.
In my opinion, it's a great song. It reminded me of the beginning of Ab Fab, to be quite honest. It just has that.
I'm never going to get
just-
that. out of my head now.
You're right.
I was under the impression from Legend that Parlophone pushed for this particular song to be the first, even though it really doesn't represent the album. I was under the impression that she wanted Wow, because she wanted to come back with a bang, but there was much debate, and apparently she lost that debate. I think it's a nice song at 3 minutes.
No,
Yeah.
just no.
No,
just no.
yes.
Solomon, what do you make of Two Hearts?
I was just listening again to The Wheels on Fire today, and every time I hear her cover of that, I just think of Two Hearts and how sonically they're so similar.
Yeah.
But anyway, Two Hearts, yeah. Again, I don't think it was the best choice for a lead single of an album that is so different to the song. It would have been a much safer choice with something like Wow or In My Arms to really come back to the direct pop scene and, bring back a track that is going to get the most exposure that most people will love.
Now, Solomon, I've
Yeah.
got to tell you something. You've got me very excited because
Yes.
I want you to tell everyone, how old were you in 2007?
Oh, God.
I was 5/6. I would have been 6 years old. But
So
I remember it.
people say
Yeah.
Kylie has no young fans. So Michael and Damien, round of applause for the young Kylie fan.
well
They do
done.
exist. They do exist. Yay, they're going to carry the torch because I thought we were all going to die off soon. But here we got Solomon to carry on the
I'm
legacy.
keeping us alive. I'm
Keeping
keeping
us
us
alive.
alive. Carrying it into the next generation.
Brilliant stuff.
I'll
welcome-
pass that torch on to you willingly.
Welcome to the Kylie Fanaticals.
One day,
Can I-
Long reign.
Can I say Two Hearts was just, to me, the thing I remember about the video was that she looked hot. Yeah, it was different. And Kylie was pushing the boundaries again.
but
Do you know what I
Michael,
mean?
this
So-
video was hideous. Did you just say she looked hot?
She looked hot.
This is a
looked
terrible
hot.
video. I hate it.
I think Kylie looked hot. Pretty
The
awesome.
video,
I-
the second video she did with for TF4 from the BBC was a better shot video, a better representation of the song, so to speak. But I do agree. I thought the video was really average.
But as the song itself, I couldn't gel my head around it, and I tried to get into it. And the thing I loved about the song was the ooh, I'm in love, ooh, that part.
Yeah, well, she says that they spent a lot of time in the recording studio trying to perfect that exact sound. And
It was
funnily
brave.
enough, they ended up with exactly the same as they did of the Kishmo version.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It wasn't any different, was it? It wasn't very
Not
much
really,
different.
not really.
There was no difference.
Yep, I agree. But no for me as a lead single, that sort of stuffed up the whole X era, I reckon.
Okay, so if we all agree that it shouldn't have been the lead single, and that's pretty universal, 3 mega fans here all saying the same thing, what should have been the lead single?
Wow.
Speakerphone. if that was on the album.
Wow, I agree. Wow, or In My Arms, I agree with Solomon. I think
Yeah.
you're in an arena where pop music at that time had made such a massive return, and you're competing with the Justin Timberlakes, the Britney Spears,
Yes.
to a degree Madonna, only to a degree, and you poor love, you agree you're trying to compete with these megastars who are coming up with perfect pop slices, and you need to come up with, and if you've got those on your record, then you put them out.
Yeah, but
you
Damien,
put
I
your
think
best
that's
foot forward.
precisely the reason why she should never have released WoW, in my opinion, because it was a carbon copy of what was already out there. When you're sitting on something as brilliant as Speakerphone and as experimental, but plus pop and plus electronica. And personally, I just hate WoW anyway. I find it very cynical. She even says, wow, we needed a song like WoW, so we went and made a song like WoW.
Yeah.
For me, that's not natural musicianship, really not.
I think, though, if you have a track that's, even to a degree, In My Arms, you have a track which sucks people in, and you're right, they could have made the electronic album from hell. And if they'd sucked people in with a much more bolder first single, then and had a record that was much more electronica, it would have flown.
Mikey, do you agree with me? How amazing could the video for Speakerphone have been? I mean, it could have been freaking incredible. The imagination knows no limits on this song.
I mean, you just got to look at the way it was performed live. That was awesome, man. It went off. You know what I mean? Like, how good is that? Like, and Speakerphone as well. Like, didn't Madonna say she loved Speakerphone?
I think she did. Yeah.
She did.
It was everything Kylie. It was electronic. It was perfect. That would have been the perfect lead single in my opinion.
So
and even actually talking about Speakerphone, it debuted it went on to number 95 on the billboards in Canada, just on downloads alone.
Oh,
did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
And that was just downloads. There was no video, nothing.
Although I will say there wasn't a video, you're absolutely right, but there was a fan competition, and this guy who's quite a fantastic amateur animator, he won a competition. I don't know what he got for it. I think he got bugger all, frankly, but his video was played before a Kylie X Tour concert as reward for his efforts. It was pretty good too.
I do remember seeing something on that, yeah.
Track 2 on X was Like a Drug.
All
I can think is her on the big skull when I think of Like a Drug. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, Kylie is like a drug, isn't she? She's for us. She's our drug. But
which drug is she, Mike?
She's a full ecstasy, mate.
At least
Not
she's not a downer, right?
that type.
Pure MDMA. She is a pure MDMA.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Just a brilliant track from start to finish. Flawless.
Yeah. I feel like it's one of those tracks that, you couldn't release it as a single because it's just there for the people that bought the album. It's it's one of those sort of great tracks that wouldn't really fit on radio, and the public who don't buy the album don't really deserve it.
It could have been one of those club tracks, though, that they made 15 remixes for and put out into the DJ universe. Yeah. There's a missed opportunity there with that could have been such a big club track for her.
Now, interestingly, track 3 on the album, In My Arms, this leaked before the album. I think this leaked before the album, and there was a different version. Maybe she wasn't speaking the words or was speaking the words. How do you describe a feeling? Can't quite remember, but I remember hearing this before the album was actually released.
I think it was the version that leaked as, a part of all the X demos. There was a rough In My Arms in there, and it has a sort of additional part before the chorus, where it goes back to when she's speaking. Yeah, and I honestly like that version a lot better than the one that was released, and I wish it got mastered.
Can I also add that In My Arms was written with Calvin Harris, and I think Kylie would be the first to use him before these American stars decided to use him. So she was actually she actually put him out there in the big world of music, and then they've put on to Kylie what she was trying to do, but they grabbed him instead, and he's worked with so many other people now, big hits.
He's an extraordinary talent, and I remember Kylie during the interviews around X talking about this young Calvin dude and how brave he was with his production of songs. But
Kylie was the first to use him, so she's a trendsetter. There you go.
Yep.
I don't know
Yeah.
why I feel like this, but I feel a little bit ripped off that, and I shouldn't because I've got no right to, but I feel a little bit ripped off that she went and made the videos for In My Arms and Wow back to back.
In America?
In one long session. It was like it cheapened the whole deal or something. I don't know why. It's my neurosis, I think, kicking in there. But she certainly did that, and I'd never heard of her doing that before or since. It was sort of like a big mass-produced Aldi video club or something.
I think it's maybe her recovery. Could be something to do with her recovery. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
it could have been to do with the fact that she had a tour looming, and they were like, okay, we've got rehearsals for a tour, and you have a week to make 2 videos.
Well, I think it was all of those factors may have been at play, but I think the reality is that they decided to do something a bit different, and I commend them for that, which was release In My Arms and Wow in different territories. So they needed the 2 videos simultaneously. I think it's as simple as that. Now, track 5, Sensitised. We come to Sensitised. Now, this is Kylie riding a bull, red-headed.
the Kylie show, which I was part of.
The slightly less sexy version of the commercial she'd already made in the past. I cannot stand Sensitised. I want to like it, can't like it, hate it with the most glorious passion.
I'm with you on that, Tim. I don't like it. I don't even know why it was put on the album.
And those little woos. Woo!
Yeah. Wasn't it said that for some reason the reason why that song made the album was because what's her name had some kind of contract with Kathy Dennis or something?
Did Kathy Dennis have a hand in this?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, she's a writer of the track, I think, and producer.
Guy Chambers also was involved in it, and from what I understand, the track was actually offered to Robbie Williams first because of the Serge Guns. Well, it was obviously without words, but it was offered to Robbie apparently, and he turned it down, and it had a Serge Gainsbourg sample in it. So Kathy Dennis was brought in. Yeah, Bonnie and Clyde, and Kathy Dennis was then brought in to write the lyrics for it. So
okay.
I don't hate it. I just think it's about a minute too long.
I think it's about 4 minutes
I
too
agree.
long. But then it returns to form, Heartbeat Rock. Again, all of this on the condition, from my point of view, that a lot of these don't fit a musical theme, but in their own right, Heartbeat Rock it's a great track. Calvin Harris as well. I remember her talking about there's a little pause in this song, which she doesn't do very often in her work. Just one beat of silence, and Kylie thought that was really brave, and she's right. It is. That's a brave move.
I love it. There was a remix with a rapper as well. I can't remember who it was that kind of came out as well. Obviously,
no, but I do remember who remixed it, and this wasn't the rapper, but I think it was Benny Blanco, which again,
we love him.
I'm not sure of his I'm unsure of his history before this, but was he someone that she sort of brought to light, or did he have
No.
before?
He's been around for a long time, but he's a pure genius.
Oh,
he's amazing. He knows exactly what the dance floor is doing at this moment right now. Like he's so good.
A version of Heartbeat Rock.
Fucking love it.
Didn't realise. Never knew
amazing.
Kylie could do the splits. There you go.
My God, that's perfect. An American thing. Heartbeat Rock, the cheerleading thing. It's perfect. I loved it. Love it.
I remember the day the DVD came out for the tour, and I was all over that. We just sat in the living room and watched it all together. It was funny.
Yeah,
But,
it's brilliant.
no,
I
that
just
was
don't know
my
why they
favourite
made
bit.
it so grainy. I have no idea what that was about, but nonetheless.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
We go to the one. Now, the one is just, isn't sensational, fan favourite,
Heaven.
yeah?
Heaven.
Yes, definitely.
Especially the remix. Freemasons remix.
Yeah.
Oh, the remix is my favourite. Yeah, that track, it deserves so much more, as a single, not a lead, but, a second one. And then I think it all collapsed under the whole Parlophone mess of the regional releases, and then they didn't want to carry the project forward. It deserves so much more than it
And
got.
it deserved so much more than... I am a William Baker defender, but I do not like it when he tampers with the video clips. Leave them alone. And I am really upset that he got his hands on this. It really upsets me. And you just wait till we get to All I See, Mr. Baker, because it's getting to get worse.
Oh, yes.
It was
Oh,
like a tour visual.
Yeah, look, I think the one is one of those things like the remixes really re-established her in the dance community in a major way, because you heard that everywhere. It went everywhere, whether it be the single edit or the full remix. And the Freemasons can really, like for a while, they couldn't do any wrong. It's just such a beautifully. It should have been a single. It should have been not so much a lead single, but it definitely should have been one of those ones that everybody knew. It should have been a radio single. Legend has it that she pushed and pushed and pushed for these remixes to be made, and as a fan, I just thought, oh, this doesn't get any better. This was one of those tracks that I just thought, yeah, I'm on board.
I was with away from my boyfriend at the time. We left each other. Obviously, he was in Chicago, I was in London. The song was out and stuff, and it says there's words where it says, "Can you hear me? I'm connecting with you. Can you feel me?" Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? It is one of the best songs on the album.
Track 8 is No More Rain. Now, this is the one that Kylie fought hard to get on the album. There were a few of those. And she wrote it herself. I love the lyrics to this song. I can't fault those. And they really do tell the story of Kylie. And she wrote this while she was recovering in Melbourne, from what I heard. And I always imagine her in her bedroom at her parents' house, because it was quite cute. She recovered under the care of her mother in particular. And she wrote this song. It was a visualization. It's a true healing journey. She was visualizing being back on stage with her fans. It's actually a little bit of a gift to us.
That's the closest we're going to get to cancer recovery for that album anyway, I think.
I remember watching it on the DVD and just think, it's emotional still when I watch it, because it's like, it makes you think about her journey, all in the past 2 years, and how she's still here and she's still on the stage, still, selling out and singing to all her fans, and she got past it all.
All I See, track number 9 on X. I think this might be a divisive song. I personally love it. It certainly does not fit on X. For God's sake, it doesn't fit. But I'm sort of glad she got it. And when I first heard it, all I thought was Janet Jackson.
I think for me, All I See is my Sensitized. It's for me. It's the one that I can't connect with. I tried.
Acoustically, what about that, Damien?
The acoustic thing that with the three girls and the guitar.
Yeah.
I don't mind, but when you consider all of the other things that were recorded around that time that didn't make the record, I'm kind of like,
And this was a rush in as well. It was like, she was just, when I imagine the creation of this album, like I see Kylie's hands and all her production people's hands just grabbing at absolutely everything. And this came in at the last minute. And it's a good track. It absolutely is. So they just went, grab it. Forget what we're actually working on here. Forget the theme. Forget cohesion. Forget everything. It's just a good track. Let's grab it and record it before anyone else does.
I love R&B, and I love All I See. With featuring Mims as well, so I'm not one of those rapper. Because I am a Westie Lebanese background, so I love R&B. I grew up with all that, and old school music. I have to say, this was supposed to be the first single in America with no video, and it was released there with a digitally only. So, and then Kylie had to go there and sing this song.
Now, these performances on US TV were hideous performances, in my opinion.
Yes.
There was one on Craig Ferguson. I think she did it on Ellen as well, when she also revealed a bit of extra information about her cancer, the wrong diagnoses. The performances were horrible.
And the William Baker video that he made was I've done better with a handy cam, but it was not actually. I better not say that. It was pretty bad.
It was bad. No, you can say
and
that.
it was bad.
I know. I mean, it's sort of a tender song, and she's dressed like something you'd find in Malaysia in a red light district.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, I know you want to show
Or headquarters.
You know, the videos across this whole era really, WoW and In My Arms were the only two that kind of matched up.
But a lot of the styling of the videos in this particular era were not great. Like, no offense to William, but like he did an amazing tour, and let's not detract from that. But the videos that were made with this and the styling that was connected to it was not that great.
Maybe.
Can I also say, when Kylie had cancer, when she's coming back, her body changed as well. So she would have been insecure about her body.
On one of the reviews of the X Tour, one thing I never thought I'd read about Kylie, one of the reviews went on about how good the concert was live, all of that sort of stuff, but the reviewer in the middle of it made this little throwaway comment. Minogue was looking rather more stout than she has previously.
Wow.
I was like, stout?
Yes.
Oh, man, that's not kind.
Well, we know that when you get cancer, obviously your body changes with chemo and radiotherapy. You put on this, you become a bit, you're not yourself. So you put on more mass.
Now, before we go through tracks 10 till 13, Stars, Wow, Nudity, and Cosmic, a really brief segue. Kylie Show, yay or nay?
Yay.
Yay. Yay, I was there. Yay. And I spoke to
I forgot
Kylie.
Michael was here. I'll go yay then.
Matt, I saw. Can I just share with all the Kylie fans when I was in London and I applied for it, I sent my Essex cover, which is the infamous Essex cover. I don't know if you've seen it. Damien might see it. Yeah. Anyway, to them and say, look, I'm not a dancer, because they're looking for dancers between 18 and 30 years old. I was 31 at the time and I was in London working.
You lied.
And I sent through the Essex, because they're looking for urban. They're looking for urban-looking dancers. And I thought, okay, I must be urban. Am I urban? I don't know. But I sent through Essex, cut the story short. I got an email back saying, congratulations, you have been selected as one of 200 out of 400,000 applications, mind you, for the Kylie Show. It was amazing to see Kylie behind the scenes at her, working with cameras, and she was in full control. You know what I mean? Like and I was looking at her, I was like, wow, not many fans can see her just watching her work whilst we had to wait right in front of her. You know what I mean? There's a stage and whatever. And then when she started to talk to us, she goes, oh, thank you for coming. And then anyone from out abroad here, from us, abroad, like from somewhere else. I put up my hand. I said, look, I'm from Australia. Kylie, I want to show you my Kylie tattoo, because I've got a Kylie tattoo on my shoulders. And so, we had an interaction, and I said, I'm so grateful to be here. I'm from Australia, blah blah. And I just wanted to show you my Kylie tattoo. She goes, I think that was beautiful. But she was just amazing, just to sort of see after the whole cancer thing, and she looked amazing, Australian, and just not up herself, or she spoke with everybody.
She wasn't looking at you as if you might be a few years over the age limit, was she?
I was 31. I told him I was 31. I wasn't lying.
I'm only teasing you, Mr. Urbane. Excuse me.
Look.
All right, let's move on to track 10, Stars. Stars was partly written by Kylie herself. Not one of my favourites, one of those ones I can't connect. It was also leaked, I'm sure, around the same time as In My Arms. I think I remember hearing it before the album was released, and it was in a bit more of a demo, or certainly not the quality that it is on the album. Didn't like it then, didn't like it when I heard it on the album either.
I'm with you, Tim. I don't like it. Didn't like it, can't connect. That's the end of that. Don't like it.
I think it's a sweet. I think it would have been a great B-side.
I'm telling you, at the time, people were like, "Oh, this is the best song ever! Oh, the best thing she's ever done." I'm thinking,
I
really?
do remember the hype about that.
I think that we should do a Kylie Cull, where we get everyone who likes Stars go and stand over there, everyone who doesn't stand over there, and we just pull the plug on the ones who like Stars. Down the pipe. Wow.
I like Wow. It reminds me of particular nights in certain clubs. So, and there were a couple of versions floating around via email of extended versions and versions that were sort of edited to make them much more sort of dance club friendly. It reminds me of Summer. It reminds me of Sun. Then when I saw the video, I was really confused, because it's like a space age Michelin Man thing, and it's kind of like, no, just no. when I hear the beginning of that song, it just takes me back to summer in Sydney. Yeah, Tamarama Beach, going to clubs, that type of thing. Actually having a tan.
Glamorama. I also remember the Brit Awards as well. I mean, that was a real case of no, just no.
Exactly.
Yeah, non-Kylie fans love Wow, 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 Wow. I know there's a few that, that they don't mind that song. I mean, taking Wow, 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 I mean, that's just an amazing chorus. Wow, 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 wow.
Become part of Kylie language, hasn't it, actually?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Look, I think it
great live.
wasn't too bad, but as I said, it was with her British, obviously performing at the Brits, that was really embarrassing for Kylie standards. You know what I mean?
You know, it was one of those tracks where I over-listened to it and I got tired of it.
That
but
happens
I do
with
remember
Kylie, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember the first thing I thought about the track was it sounds similar to Holiday by Madonna. I still can't pinpoint what exactly about the song.
You're not the first person
similar,
to say it, though.
But
it's
no, and I found that...
It's that part.
Yeah.
It's a shame Jono the Pup's not part of this podcast because he'd like this track. And a shout out to you, Jono, wherever you are listening. Track 12, Nudity, because Jono has a bit of a habit of doing these podcasts in the nude. Or so he says. He's never actually verified that. Yes, apparently he does. He sits there talking about light years and God knows where his hands are. But nonetheless...
Lucky there was no
more power to him, I say.
That's why we only do audio. So, Nudity, what a thumping bass does this track have, though?
Nudity, how good was it during X? You know what I mean? I think it's a cute song. I don't mind it at all. It's very, very naughty lyrics.
I love it.
It was an outcast, but it was the outcast that the album needed, and
the outcast that the album needed. I like that.
Kylie, I interrupt you to say that Kylie has just announced "Stop Me From Falling" is being premiered on BBC Radio 2 tomorrow morning.
Breaking news: Kylie just announced while we're recording this podcast. What?
She just tweeted, so the next single from my new album, Golden, Stop Me From Falling, is premiering tomorrow on BBC Radio 2 with Chris Evans.
Woohoo!
Which means it'll drop in iTunes on Saturday.
So returning to talk about Nudity, I know we're living in 2018, but let's go back to 2007. Listen to this lyric, would you? Time to strip down. Just pop that zipper for me and work that thing out. Just expose it, because you know it's all right. Are you ready to let it go tonight? What is she talking about, Michael?
It's what we've all got, a penis. And
yeah,
I think
Michael, what is she talking about?
something that I don't see much of anymore. Except for mine. But
Solomon will take that baton and
I can't
run
believe
with
I
it,
said
I'm
that on radio. But anyway, that was I think it was naughty, Kylie.
And then she did
the
the viral video that she tried to make here, or did make. I really love that, you know, with all the dancers behind the scenes of the X Tour when they...
yeah, that was cool.
It was pretty clever, actually. The final track on the album, Cosmic.
I've got a bit of a hate with this.
Yeah, I saw that live at the Kylie. I was part of the Kylie show, obviously. The two tracks that I was part of was Got to Be Certain and Cosmic.
I wanted to write a song called Cosmic, Michael.
I just don't think she should have written a song about Cosmic. Very lame. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of that.
And I'm a little bit obsessed with this, that the very first two little beats, or maybe four, are exactly the same, in my opinion. Not exactly, but very similar to Put Yourself in My Place. And no one else can hear it. Everyone says, no, you're nuts. You're an idiot.
No, you can. 100%.
Yeah. I don't think I can hear it either. You know, you are nuts.
No. I actually did this
so I had to
today.
You're not nuts.
That's all right. I've got a few cracks in at you tonight, so you deserve to get back at me.
You know, opening the song with "I Wanted to Write a Song Called" was, I think, there's something so special about that. Yeah, it's a cute track, but not something that I always go to listen to. I think it's something that I listen to when I'm listening to the album in full, and that's about it, really.
I wanted I wanted to take your place just sometimes to know the things you know and why you did the things you do. That does not make sense. Sorry, Kylie. Doesn't. Now, if we spoke about B-sides and additional tracks for X, we would be here for the rest of our lives. I mean, first of all, we should mention that you can easily go to YouTube and get a 1.5 hour to 2 hour video of all the leaked tracks that finally leaked in bulk around 2017 at the beginning, around January or possibly December 2016, around that time. Very exciting. Like I say, we'd been ravenous hordes for years waiting for that to drop. But what about some of the more official? Magnetic Electric was originally going to be the name of this album, rumoured to be, at least at one stage. Great track. She started the Anti-Tour with this as well.
Great song. Great. Just the whole...
I love the song.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Should have been on the record. I agree that it could have set the tone for a really good electronica album, and it's strong enough to have been one of those things that, done live, it could be really well interpreted.
White Diamond, King or Queen, I don't know what it is. Carried Away, Cherry Bomb, Do It Again.
I love Cherry Bomb.
Yeah, now Cherry Bomb does deserve mentioning in isolation, doesn't it?
It does, and that should have been on the album. And I loved it. Should have been even a single.
What do we make of the cover of this album and the styling of X in general? We've spoke about the video clips and the Kylie show, so we've spoken about the styling to an extent. What about the cover here?
I love the cover.
Covers
say it right here. Yeah, and I love such a symbol of my childhood growing up loving Kylie was the fact that the little things like the logo, the K forming a sort of V shape, and that odd sort of drawing of the K with Fever, and then it got carried on to X with a different drawing of the logo. And I love the design of the front cover. It's so vibrant in color without showing too much color. It stands out.
I think it's very reminiscent of the old trademark posters that used to sort of advertise the dance parties back in the 90s, that were done by Mark Waddell, and they stylistically the album cover, with just with the colouring and the shading and the outlines around it, really take it to a much more artistic level, rather than just sticking a black and white photo of how pretty she looks.
And can I say also, didn't Gaga copy that Kylie look?
I think it was Katy Perry, actually. There's a Katy Perry meme that's gone around. It was 2007 picture of Kylie and 2017 picture of Katy Perry.
And don't forget, during that time, Kylie Minogue went to America, obviously for You, For Me, after that. Because the album wasn't successful there, obviously. X, it was number 100 and something 30 on the US Billboard.
But in Australia, we had a number one album, which was
number one album. Yes, we did have a number one album, and she sold 70,000, so it went platinum here in Australia. Number 4 in the UK. Which is that's a bit shocked for me, as like Kylie comeback I thought it should have been higher, but obviously Two Hearts didn't really gel much with these people. But it did end up selling like 500,000 in the UK.
I think it's actually topped the million now worldwide.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But in the UK, she sold 400 and something, but close to 500,000 in the UK alone. Yeah. And then it was top 20 in many other countries: Austria, Germany, Ireland.
Switzerland.
And so it did well for Kylie, but obviously the tour did amazing for her. She ended up touring in South Africa, around Europe, and all over
brilliant tour, right? Yeah. This was fantastic.
South America, it was amazing. And don't forget that stage was also first
LED. Yeah,
it was all lit on the floor. It hasn't been done before as well. It was a big. It was at the time. It was one of the a leader in.
It was a huge production. It was novel and new, and also I'm pretty sure that the X Tour kept morphing as it made its way around the world to a certain extent. Anyway, much more than in other tours before or since. It kept changing. I know that it changed a lot. It opened in Paris, I think, from memory, and it was quite long. But it was a very different show by the time it had made it to other territories. Commercially, was X successful?
Yes. commercial success. It was definitely successful commercially. So
Yeah.
And if you can tour for 18 months on a record, even if you in your mind you think you haven't made it commercially successful, if you can tour for 18 months on a record, it's successful. That tour went everywhere. Like it wasn't just an English Japan,
we went
Australia,
to Asia,
and that's it. She went everywhere, and all through Europe, and it was a massive tour. She knows what she's doing.
And she also was nominated for the Brit Award for the International Female, and she was also nominated for the Grammy for the Best Dance Electronic Album. So it was her 5th Grammy nomination. So it did pretty well and sold 1 million copies worldwide.
That's not bad at all. Do we listen to this album?
Yes.
I've got my own version of it as
Of
a
course you
playlist
do.
in which I listen to quite regularly because I
don't have that album I'm listening to an album of Kylie's in the car, and it's the 50 plus one, so
Nice.
which is
That's a good choice.
I love it. Good.
Good
It's all,
choice.
but X I haven't heard it for a while. Now that we've spoken about it, I think I'm going to pull it out and work it in the car.
I actually listened to it today. Like, I actually listened to the proper version, not my own.
What do you think?
Well, I prefer my edited version. For me, it's about a 7 out of 10.
It would have been so much better as a 2-disc sort of release or a 2-part release, because there's so many tracks that fit onto one side and then to the other. I've just found this little list I've done up here. So on disc 1, it's sort of the electro tracks like Magnetic Electric, In My Arms, Heartbeat Rock, Cherry Bomb, Do It Again, Nudity. The disc 2 is the more downplayed side of it and the more, raw instruments such as Two Hearts, Cosmic, Stars, even White Diamond I put on there. It is such a wide variety of tracks, and it is listenable.
And that's it. X, the album that tried to be absolutely everything at one time. Golden Friends, thank you so much for your time tonight. Damien, Solomon and Michael, fantastic remembering the X album from 2007.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you again. Good to talk again to everybody.
Yeah.